We are here today with a special guest. I've known Ali for a number of years, and she's a really successful aviation business owner. She is the director and CEO of PlaneTalking, and she's here with us today to talk about all things sustainability, because she's also involved in the Aviation Sustainability Forum. Is that right?
Yep, that's right.
Okay, cool. Well, tell us a bit about PlaneTalking and what you guys do.
So PlaneTalking Products is an in-flight onboard product supply company. So we design, we develop, we work with key stakeholders across the supply chain to come up with really fabulous products for service in flight. So basically anything that a passenger might use on a long-haul flight. So your linen, your tableware, your amenities, all that kind of stuff.
Oh, okay. So I get really excited. So when I get onto a plane, the first thing I do is pick it up and see what's in there.
Yeah.
See what's in my goodie bag. So that's the stuff you do.
I do the same.
Okay. Yeah.
So all of that kind of stuff. And I think what's really important about it is all our customers want to have something special. Those are the kind of things that you remember as a passenger and you might actually want to take home. So it's really important that everything is different. We design stuff specially for our customers to make sure that it reflects their brand personality, maybe their local culture, that kind of thing. That's important to what we do.
That is really, really important. So for me as a consumer, when I go onto a plane, I judge an airline by what's in that pack. And my perception of their brand will change depending on what's in that pack and the things that I bring home and all of that. So it makes a big difference to an airline.
Yeah, and I think that's true of all in-flight products, because I think that sort of sets the scene for how you're going to feel and how you're going to react to that flight. And especially after the pandemic,
yes,
kind of a lot of travel anxiety, maybe in terms of you haven't traveled for a while and it's the first time since the pandemic, or maybe you're worried about where you're going. And I think part of the experience with the products can calm you down. And I think well-being is essential to onboard products at the moment. That's a big trend that we're seeing, that people want stuff that they recognize or reminds them of home or makes them feel better, offers them something in flight to help them.
That's such a good point, because I am also judgmental, because obviously cost is a big factor. And I remember the most amazing amenity kits you could get. And this might be going back 10 years ago, there'd be everything in there. And since pandemic, obviously everyone's trying to save cost, but I judge an airline by how diminished their in-flight kits are. So actually skimping, I would say that's not the place you want to skimp in terms of cost.
I think you're right in terms of cost, but I think these days it's about quality, not quantity. And actually the items that you receive on board as a passenger should add value to your experience.
Yeah.
So we try not to give away stuff that people leave behind, single use. We don't want that. We want to give people things that are useful or enhance the journey experience. That's really important.
That is really important. And actually you are, very hot on sustainability. You're really involved in the Sustainability Forum and those sorts of things. And you mentioned in our pre-show chat that that's a question you get asked a lot about with all of the airlines you deal with. And, you don't just deal with, smaller airlines. You deal with some of the world's biggest airlines and some of the largest carriers in the world. So what kind of questions are they asking you as part of their procurement process?
That's a really good question. All the time, we're now asked for more sustainable alternatives. So quite often the way we approach customers is either they come to us with something specifically that they want, or it might be a tender that we're responding to. But 100% of the time, there's always can you also offer us a sustainable alternative? And what does that mean? What does that actually mean in terms of product development? So that can mean the material that it's made from. I think that it means a lot more than that. I think it means looking across the entire supply chain at where it comes from, how it's harvested, sourced, produced.
Yeah, the whole cut,
the whole supply chain. You can't just look at the material, because that may not be the most important thing. Where's it coming from? How does it get to where you want to consume it? And then, really importantly, what happens to it afterwards?
Yeah, definitely. That's a really, really good point, because and I think these questions are coming through the manufacturing supply chain as well, which I know you're not involved with, but airlines have these massive sustainability targets. Our government has released masses of grant funding to get us to what they call Destination Zero, which is trying to get a carbon neutral UK aviation industry by 2050, which to me sounds absolutely bonkers, because the amount of fuel, like all of the more engineering side, that's going to be really, really hard to achieve. But they are also targeting those, the whole area of aviation. So that's probably why you're seeing that coming through.
It's so complex. I've had so many discussions with not just people in the in-flight sector, but like you say, outside of that, in the wider aviation space. And when you actually think about embedded carbon in the way the planes are made, the fuel, your passengers getting to the actual aircraft, things like that. I mean, it is quite overwhelming, and it's gonna take quite a lot to unpick that and work out how to get to net zero.
And I think as well, there's a massive social change. Like generations, like I came from a generation where, recycling was being introduced. And now it's in the younger generation, they care about their futures, and not necessarily their futures, but their children's futures. It might not be that our world, gets destroyed by the time we, pass away and move on, but actually it's now going to start to affect not necessarily our kids, but our kids' kids. And, people are choosing not to have children in the younger generation because of that fact. And so climate change is real, and the aviation sector massively contributes to destroying our environment, which is a really sad it's a really sad thing, because travel is so amazing. Like I've been lucky enough through aviation to travel to all, different corners of the world, and it is amazing, and I encourage everyone to travel. And the sad thing for me, and I'm very selfish, I feel very selfish in that it won't stop me getting on a plane, even though I know how bad it is for our planet from a sustainability point of view, which is why talking about this, and it's so important.
Well, and I hope that other people feel the same. Otherwise, we're all out of jobs. Right? But I think you're right, and I think that what's happening is people will still travel, but they will do so in a meaningful way. Yeah. So they will travel because either they have to or they really want to, and if they can go to numerous destinations, or they have I don't know, if you're going on business, you have a number of meetings with things that you need to achieve. I think we're much more inclined to try and combine all of that in one journey, rather than maybe before we would have just hopped on a plane to to have one meeting and then come back again. I think meaningful travel is the way forward. And I think I read an article the other day about digital nomads. So people who are can work from wherever. After the pandemic, a lot of people can work from wherever, right? So traveling, being able to start working in an airport, on an aeroplane, in a hotel room, all of that becomes really important, because you're managing your business from there. And I think the travel experience, and particularly in in-flight, we need to embrace that. And it's going to be a challenge to differentiate the space. So in first and business class particularly, if you're working, you want to be able to differentiate the space when it's nighttime, because you're still in the same seat, right? But you need to be able to differentiate from, right, this is a workspace now, to now I'm relaxing. Yeah. Maybe I'm having dinner and then I'm relaxing. So a lot of the work we've been doing on products is how to manage that differentiation and the transformation of your little personal space.
So like with the food, like, because I know that you do like the crockery and all of the like first class business experience, the blankets and all of that, when I do travel business on occasion, it doesn't happen all the time, just when they've got a good deal. When I do travel business, it makes a big difference to me, like the feel of the blanket, like all of those things are important to me, which is maybe a bit superficial, but actually passengers care.
They do care. And I think it's really important when you're developing those kind of products to look at the whole experience and look at how it all fits together and how it works with the service that you want to offer, and the food service that you're offering, all of that kind of thing. So when we're developing products, we have to think about so many different things, and there's so many stakeholders. But crew is obviously one. Is how do you offer a turn down service? Are you laying a table? You know, that kind of thing all informs our product selection choices.
That's really, really interesting. And I you know, I won't mention any names, but I was with a carrier that actually you know, I'm pretty sure you supply, and the designs that were on them were just so nice. And I sat there and I thought, wow, like I know, even asked the air hostess if I could take it home. I was like, can I take this mug home? And she let me. So
Well, good. I hope it was one of mine.
it was, no, it was one of yours. It was one of yours. Just, yeah, like just looking at the things that they provide you with. I know it seems silly me talking about it as an industry.
It's not silly, but it's the small touches that make the big difference, and that's what we always say to our customers.
Yeah.
Is think about the detail, because it's the detail that people will remember after the flight.
Yeah.
And you're trying to differentiate yourself against your competition, right? So having that well thought through, holistic, cohesive experience on board, I think is really important.
I definitely agree with you, and knowing you personally and your attention to detail will make you incredible at what you do with all of the stuff. And you know, I've seen it in person. So yeah.
What's really interesting, I think, is the sustainability that's comes through in those products now. So we're doing much more in terms of textiles in recycled fabrics, natural fabrics, biodegradable fabrics. There's quite a lot of fabrics coming through that are made from plant waste, like pineapple leaves,
That's
things
cool.
like that. Yeah. So some of it's commercialized and some of it isn't, but we're really keeping a close eye on all the innovation that's happening in textiles, because how we take that and apply it to textiles on board, I think, will be really important going forward.
I think so. And I've heard some naysayers, you know, negative Nancy's, kind of saying airlines don't really care. They don't really give a shit about sustainability, and all they care about is what the customer looks at, which is, you know, where you are, that part of the market. And it's interesting what you say about what's real sustainability. What does that mean? Like, do you think with airlines, you know, that's relatively true? They just care about what the client thinks, or do you actually think that they do care?
I think they do care. I think they have to care.
Yeah.
But they're on the same net zero journey as the rest of us, and they whether they're doing it already or not are going to have to look at their in-flight offering. I know they've got lots of other things to think about in terms of fuel and all of that, and obviously that's absolutely
mind-boggling
and critical to achieving net zero. But they are. I do think that they do care, and a lot of our customers have made new appointments in terms of sustainability leads inside their organizations, and they are influencing that procurement and development process when it comes to the products as well. So I think they do care. I think there's limitations around what they can do at the moment, because the industry is heavily regulated, and the regulation when it comes to international catering waste, so single-use products that have come into contact with food, dictates that it has to be burned or sent to deep landfill. So you can do a lot of good work in the upstream supply chain, developing fantastic products that are biodegradable, compostable, recyclable, or whatever, but then they have to burn it. And so I think that's why I've joined the ASF, which we talked about earlier, the Aviation Sustainability Forum. That is the ASF is going to bring together the entire supply chain, stakeholders across the supply chain, to look at that piece and say, right, how can we change the supply chain so that that regulation is no longer a barrier to becoming circular?
Wow. So, you know, with PlaneTalking and what you've done within the industry, you know, you are an industry expert and you've been there for years. You are the sustainability guru when it comes to in-flight products then.
I wouldn't say that, but
I
feel very passionately about sustainability, and I know a lot of people say that, but I think you're right. We work in a sector which is bad for the environment. We know that, and I think even if it's just a small part of the overall picture, we can all play our part, and we should all play our part to make a difference. And that's why that's the direction that PlaneTalking is going in, because I think we have to all do our bit.
I definitely agree with you. And what I like about what you do is you're very passionate about the sustainability side and the sustainability piece. And I'm passionate about the sustainability side, but also, there is the day to day of running a business, working in aviation. You forget the impact it's having on the bigger picture. And so, yeah, what I love about talking with you is it's all the first question is how is it sustainable? Which is, yeah, really, really nice.
We've just joined Net Zero Nation Accelerator Program as PlaneTalking.
Oh, cool.
And that is working with other SMEs in the local area to basically share best practice. So we track our carbon footprint and then we put measures in place to try and reduce our carbon footprint. And we work with these other businesses in totally different industries. But I'm guessing when we get going with it, we'll find that we've all pretty much got the same issues. And one thing I've discovered very, very quickly is that as a small business, relatively small business, we there's only sort of 8 of us in the UK. That's not what it's, for me, that's not what it's about, because that's actually quite easy to deal with. Our travel, our energy, things like that. That's easy to track. It's easy
on an individual basis.
Yeah, it's easy to make a plan for that. But for us, it's about the wider impact of what we're doing, the wider impact of the products that we're making, the products that we're supplying, the products that are being shipped around the world, and that kind of thing. And really focusing on that is where we're going to make the big difference.
I do think so as well. And there's so many things you can do with that. Like, obviously, your focus is PlaneTalking. It's a really successful business, but actually sustainability consultancy is probably an area you'll accidentally end up in.
I think there's people who know a lot more about it than me, but I think, that's why I think working together is so important, because we all know our stuff, right, in our own area. So yes, I would like to think that I can give advice on good materials, good production process, good ideas in terms of design and development of products to be more sustainable. But then that's why I need to work with our customers, our airline customers, the caterers, the waste management, the airports, to complete that circle. Because if we don't all work together, we're still sort of working in our own silos, and perhaps we don't really know what's going to happen to the product after it's been used. And I think that can't carry on. We have to come together and work together.
I definitely agree. And this conversation has been fascinating. And so you mentioned an accelerator that you were doing. If people are interested, can we put a link in?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So
So
that's an accelerator that might be local. And then what we'll also do is put your a link to the PlaneTalking website.
Yep. And to the ASF.
To the AS. So we've got a few links that we're going to put in the comments. The Aviation Sustainability Forum and the good work that they do. There'll be a link in the comments. PlaneTalking Products, which is your business that does supply all of
flight products,
all of the sexy stuff that people see.
Yeah.
And that accelerator that you mentioned as well. Is there anything else we can cover where people can get access to different resources to learn more? Like, this has been amazingly educational for me, which probably says a lot about how much I don't know. But for you, I think it should. Yeah, like, I'd come to you for any sustainability question, which might it might be. How can other people learn more about sustainability?
I think there's a lot being written about it at the moment in the trade press. I see lots of articles about it. I think come and join the ASF. That's one thing I would say. If you're in the in-flight supply chain at any point, manufacturer, caterer, product supplier, waste management, airport, airline, come and join the ASF, because that's where we're having the conversations about how can we make these changes so that we don't have to burn and bury everything that's single use and come into contact with food at the end. So the way forward for the ASF is to try and bring all those key stakeholders from the supply chain together. And I've been to numerous meetings and webinars, and there's lots of information on our website as well about how to get involved and how you can really influence what the work that the ASF is doing. It's independent, so it's absolutely led by the membership. So come and be part of the conversation and come and influence the work that they're doing.
That is amazing. So that's interesting. So is it, airlines and things like that can sign up to that?
Yep. Every stakeholder in the in-flight
experience
supply chain. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So yeah, I would definitely say for all of, or anyone in, any supply chain, I guess, that's interested in that sort of stuff could probably.
Yeah. Or contact us just to find more. There's some reports on the website that are downloadable. So if you want to have a read, first of all, you can do that too.
Oh, amazing. Cool. Well, thank you so much for coming in today. I've really enjoyed our chat, and yeah, I love having you here anyway. We know each other personally, so it's kind of nice as well. But yeah, what a guest. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Elaine.
Cheers.